and welcome to video 5 in our dplyr series, where we're going to talk today about slice. Before we start with that, let's talk about NAs. That means not applicable or not available. If R doesn't know what a number is, if it's missing a value, it will put an NA there. Now, when you're looking at these comparisons and filtering things, you have to know how it's going to treat NAs. So if I have an NA, let's just put X gets NA. Make it simple. Okay, so here's X. It's NA. So X to the 0. What do you think that's going to be? It's 1, because it doesn't matter what is in X. If I raise it to the 0 power, it's always 1. What if I do X or true? Well, let's see. What do you think? Well, it's going to be true because all it takes is one of them to be true. So it doesn't care what X is. If one of them is true, then it's going to be true. But what about if I have X and true? Now, since it doesn't know whether X is true or not, it doesn't know what the logical and is, right? If they have to both be true for it to come out true. It could be true, it could not be. So R goes, I don't know, so it gives you an NA. Okay, now what if I did X and false? I know one of them is false, so I know my answer will be false. Okay, if I did X or false, I don't know what X is, but I know one of them is false, so I won't know, right? So if I do, the last one is X times 0. Well, you would think it'd be 0, but it's not, because it could be infinite, right? And then it would depend on which one's growing faster and so forth. So you just have to be aware of how it's going to treat NAs and stop and play with it if you need to. Okay, let's move on to slice. So slice is, I'm going to choose rows based on the position. So if I took my my reduced flight data set, and then I say let's slice, and let's take rows 8,000 to 8,010. Okay, then it's going to give me those rows. Okay, so I can do it based on absolute row numbers. I can also use some other, they've really improved slice in the last year. So let's take my same FL reduced, and pipe it into slice head. So if I don't give it a number there, it's going to just give me the top one. And if you wonder why I keep getting this warning message, I need to restart R, but I don't want to stop and do it right now. So if I tell it n equals 5, then it will give me the top 5. Not the top valued, but the first 5. And I can do the same sort of thing with the tail and get either the last one or the last however many I want to specify. Let's get the last 6. And there's the last 6. Okay, so those are ways to get the first and the last rows. I can also use slice sample. So I can do FL reduced, and let's sample from all of my rows, and I'm going to pick 5 at random. Now, if you do this, you should get a different ones than I am because of a thing called the seed. But you should get 5 at random. If I do the same thing, but instead I could give it, instead of the number I want to take, let's say I want to take a proportion. And so the proportion I want is 0.1%. So 0.1 would be 001 is the percent. That gave me 1. Let's take a little more. Let's take 1%. That's not... Something's wrong there. Let me come back. Ha! I figured out what I was doing wrong. It's not P. You have to tell it proportion equals. Let's see if this is going to come back up now. There we go. Now I took 0.1% at random of all of the entries. Now I want to show you how you can use an option to slice sample. So in this case, I've put these numbers in and I've said, give me 5 of those numbers at random. But I could do the same sort of thing. I just put them into a data frame and I could say, okay, I want to sample n equals 5, but replace equals true. This performs what we call a bootstrap sample, where you see items can be replaced. So it takes an item at random, puts it back in the jar to pick from, then picks another item, and it does this 5 times. So I will typically get some duplicates. There's also some new functions called slice min and slice max, which are extremely useful. So what they're going to do, slice min will pick the row with the minimum value of departure delay. So this gives me the minimum. So this shows the minimum value. I could do the same thing and pick the maximum value. I'm going to see what's the longest a flight was delayed leaving. And it's that. Or I can give it an optional argument and say I want the 10 that were the longest delayed. And here you go. You've got the 10 longest flight delays. So this gives you all of the entries that had the longest delay. So you have slice min and slice max. Now you have 2 exercises to practice your slicing, and then come back and we'll do video 6 on a range.